Hi, this is Eva for Midnight Mandela. Welcome to Once Upon a Timeline. How is everybody doing today? So it's been a little bit of a quiet week until like yesterday, basically. Strange things were happening yesterday. I was really tired on Monday too, so I don't know if there was a shift or what, but there has been a couple personal Mandelas. I did not find a lot of regular Mandelas for y'all's, but I did hunt and find some, but like none jumped out at me this week. I actually had none by this morning, and then I checked messages and I found a few from you guys, and I hunted around in my spots. Yeah, was it Shari said something about the mantis and the wings? Yes. I don't think I actually did cover that, did you? But yeah, the mantis now has wings. I think I did see that. Maybe it was you that mentioned it. Um, Mantis in my timeline had boring color, no wings. I do remember them being like green, but that was about it. Okay, so I don't know. There's some kind of a pattern, but it seems like my computer works fine all week, and then 20 minutes before the show, I have problems. So that's kind of what happened today. Oh yeah, see I did. I have it in the Google Mantis fly. I must have seen that somewhere. I do remember seeing that recently, and maybe I was gonna write it down and I didn't. Or I wrote it down on a piece of paper and I lost it. So I'm got my fingers crossed the computer's gonna hold up for this show. So it was actually fine, but I decided to reboot it to be on the safe side. And then I came back and it's been funky since I rebooted it. And it's the same problem as last week, which I didn't have all week until now, which is it's just like its memory's not working right or something. Yeah, there's a lot of weird mantis now. And they do have wings. I don't remember them having wings at all. But I don't remember the crickets having wings. They used to just jump. So there's a lot of really weird. I've had mantis on as just being weird looking before. And just being way more creepy. I mean, they always were creepy, but they've just gotten next level extra creepy. And I saw one like I don't know, was it 3 years ago, and I was like, what's that? Oh, it's a mantis, but I didn't recognize it at first because it's so extra. It's like a caricature of the old guys. So I'm looking on the backs here. So that seems to be what a lot of these creatures are doing. The same with the cockroaches is they used to just have, an abdomen, but now they have wings over the top of that abdomen that shape perfectly, so you don't really notice at first. But like that last cockroach I saw, I did notice it looked a little thicker, and I think it's because it has the wing layer on it now. And it was just a little bit like I almost wanted to call it fluffy because it was like there was just something more to it, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it until it took off and flew. Although these guys' wings look like they're down really tight. Let's see. Yeah, see, there's one with wings. There's one with wings. So it looks like they can fly now. These ones with these weird sticky uppy butts are strange to me too. I didn't see those before. That thing doesn't even look like a mantis. It looks like a wasp. Ugh. All right, fingers crossed we can finish this show. Let's see, mantis. Okay, I think what I need is to put wings on there. See how slow it's going? It's like it's not letting me type things in. It's not taking the input in a timely fashion. It's not like I'm asking it to do that much. Loading really slow. Come on. Oh, look at that. So it's got multiple wings under there then. It's got like the plane set on the top, or maybe that's some kind of cover. That seems to be another thing. A lot of the creatures now have this like kind of like a cover, and then the wings are under it. Used to be the wings would just be right there. Beautiful mantis with flared wings. Look at that, and it's all folded. Then it's got this weird thing underneath the cover. I think there's a fancy word for those covers. So they're not actually wings, and they hide the true color of the wings. So that's the convenience of those. Is the old days it'd just be plain wings over the top. But now that in order to have colored wings under there, but still look plain on the outside, they have this cover over the wings. All right, let me do the live chat. Waiting for Mantis to crawl up on my bed. You know what we found in here? Another one of those freaking camel spiders. I'm getting really sick of those things. Ugh. So they're like spiders, but they're long, and they're like, Okay, let's see. Shari's got one. Let's see if it loads. I should close this Mantis one. See, the computer is struggling. All right, so I'm just going to tell you about the personal Mandelas. Now it looks like it's going to load. One is ridiculous, but I do occasionally drink Monster. I think you can see this one. And so Dave got this one, and he pulls it out for me. This is one of my favorite flavors. Earlier today, and the first thing I'm like, oh, they have like a bonus pack, because look at this, I'm freezing up. I felt like it was about this much too tall or something. It looked like it had like another 20-30% at the top. I don't remember him being this long and skinny, and it still says 16 ounces. I don't know if that was what it said before, but I'm like, oh, it's a bonus pack. Like he got an extra big one. And he's like, no, that's the size they've always been. I'm like, no, that's a bonus one. It's tall. So I have a bunch of these that I've been slowly saving, because I didn't know if I was going to use the outer coverings on these are really cool for some art project or just recycle them. But I have a big bag of these. So I go and I look in my big bag that I've been saving forever, and they're all like this. So I don't know if I'm crazy or what, but I swear it's like taller. I'm not sure. Maybe it's skinnier, but it just looks, it's definitely taller. It's just not the dimensions I remember. And I just had one a couple days ago, and that wasn't the case. Like 2, 3, maybe 4 days ago I had one. I think it's more like 2 or 3 days ago. So I don't know. It's stuff like this. I'm like, am I going crazy? And there's one other thing that happened was yesterday. I went to get, so I had some cocoa. Ooh, that's a weird looking thing. Wow, cool. So what is it, like a fuzzy, it's a furry, nuh-uh. Is that even real? I'm wondering if that's CGI. It looks a little fishy. See, what's weird is this center part is not budging by even one molecule. Okay, what is it standing on? And the flight pattern looks a little strange. I'm thinking this might be CGI or something. Because it looks like it's standing on something, yet the wings are flickering beyond where it would be. It just looks a little off to me. I don't know. Do you have the name of this thing? Because I just feel like that might be CGI. I mean, cool, and maybe we will get that, but the flight pattern just looks off. So yeah, unless you got some kind of name for it or something, I'm a little fishy on that one. Let's see. Is there such as a like a furry wing butterfly? Let's see if there's anything even like that. Come to think of it, I mean, there's nothing really stopping the reality of going that route, but let's just see if we can see any images like that. So we've had the poodle moths. I think that's about as close as we've gotten. They're a little furry. So those are older, and that's all I'm really seeing here. That one's got furry feet. Yeah, I'm not sure on that. We might not have that yet. The way the wings move doesn't look quite natural to me. It looks like a CGI dealie. This one's neat. Look at this one. I mean, we're barking up that tree, but this guy looks like he's a little furry. Moth wings. But not like a huge, you know, flaily fur. What is this thing? Chickens. It's chickens. That's not what we want. Chickens. I think that one might be fake also. Yeah, I think that's a fake one there. This is a real one. All right. So, yeah, I'm going to call that one questionable for now. Crickets have wings. Yes. Yes, they all do. They can fly. They both jump and fly now. So they used to jump because they couldn't fly, but now they can do both. Slept all day, past 2 days. I slept all day on Monday. I was just totally beat out. I played pickleball, then I went home and slept. Then I got up for a few hours, and then I slept again like all night, and then woke up at 3. No, I woke up at 3 a.m. because I'd been sleeping so much, and then I was awake for a few hours, and I went back to sleep, and then I slept really late. So it was like a 2 days worth of sleeping almost. I didn't even feel that sleepy Tuesday either. Like, even though I had slept that much, I mean, you know how you feel when you sleep too much? I didn't feel like I slept too much. So yeah, those things show up, and at first they're CGI or questionable, or they're like they just show up and nobody has any provenance for them. And then down the line, we see something like it. Maybe not exactly. So, you know, keep an eye out, because that looks like something the timeline might do. Excuse me, but I don't trust that one video. Not the way the wings moved and stuff wasn't quite right. Yeah, so at an early stage, it's like it's undeveloped. First, you get used to it. You get just used to the image, and some people think it might be real, but other people like me are like, no, it's CGI. But then later, stuff shows up. So, did anyone see on Mr. MBB333? It better be MBB333. It's not Mr. MB333, is it? Doesn't there 2 B's on there? MBB333? A couple weeks ago, he planted blueberries, and at least one of them had letters and numbers printed on it. Pollinating butterflies, that's an interesting idea. The fuzzy moths should be able to do it too, but so I don't know on these, you know, these are the kind of things, is like maybe reality's doing this, or did somebody just take a pen and write some numbers on there and get some clicks, or, you know, I don't even know what's going on anymore. I saw about that hyena females have this weird, long, almost man part. That has actually been on Sean Bay. I agree with you. It was very weird. Preliminal, I hate CGI. You know, I think though that that's part of how this comes through now. I don't think it's a coincidence that yeah, Mr. MBB 333. Okay, good. Sorry. I was getting a little worried there. Yeah, they give birth through that weird long part that the female hyenas have now that looks like the male part. That was one I was on a few years ago. So yeah, the CGI, I don't know. I think it's no coincidence that stuff can show up now and you're not sure if it's real. So you can't totally discount it, but you can't totally know it's real. That might be part of the whole process of stuff showing up because it seems like it shows up in nebulous, questionable form. It's just like the Pokemon, you know, they weren't really there, but everybody was pretending they were there. And then some of those creatures in the Pokemon then suddenly did have a corollary in real life. That I saw a picture of a mosquito with numbers under its wings. Yeah, I just saw a thing earlier about they're saying that I never really quite put this together, but sometime back they said female mosquitoes don't actually suck, or male mosquitoes don't actually suck blood, and only female mosquitoes do. And the latest thing is female mosquitoes actually normally consume nectar. I've never heard of mosquitoes consuming nectar. But now they consume nectar and they only need blood for their eggs, like to grow their eggs, they need blood. So that seems like the mosquito story is changing too, as I don't remember mosquitoes ever consuming nectar before. So yeah, if we have time, remind me, I'll zoom by MBB 333's channel. Okay, so I saw okay, so I'm going to finish that story then. So I was getting these cocoa lozenges. They're basically the cocoa fat, and they kind of smell a little bit like chocolate, and it's the fat that's in chocolate. And I had bought them a while back for some project, and then I realized that cocoa fat by itself is not very good. It's not horrible, but it's not like chocolatey that much. So I didn't do the project because the project really, I expected it to taste better when I got those. They're like lozenges to put into cooking. But then yesterday I had a new plan for them. So I dug them out and they were in this bag with all the other project parts. And the project parts was some shredded coconut, the cocoa, cocoa, which is chocolate actually, lozenges. And there had originally been all chocolate, real chocolate in there, but I had eaten that one. And the third thing was some puffed wheat. So the puffed wheat was in there, but it kind of spilled. And I was like, oh, should I do something about this? I'll just deal with it, you know, when I do the project. So I checked that the cocoa wafers were there, and then I put it all back. And so then today I go to get out the cocoa wafers, and I'm looking in the bag, and first of all, there's a bunch of noodles in the bag. I'm like, there were no noodles in the bottom of this bag. And now the wheat, the puffed rice is gone. So like the whole thing is different. There's new stuff in the bag, and the old stuff, the rice is gone. It's gone. I mean, like, I really remembered it because some had spilled out and it looked weird because there was little white things everywhere, and it's all gone. So I'm like, oh, it's in with the white things, and it's gone. It's gone. So like I guess I threw out the rice, or I don't know what I did with the rice, because I know I didn't throw it out. It was just there yesterday, and now there's other stuff in the bag. So it's like, oh man, it's just like, oh, am I going crazy or what? I don't know. So those two things this week, it's like, oh, crazy town. Giant monsters. I got that monster can, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be so much monster. I'm gonna be like, I can't drink it all, but So the monster can and the puffed wheat. Let me see what you guys are. The video blueberries with number is from Newfoundland. Okay. Yeah, see, that's so tricky. If it was actually from MBB 333, then you kind of know the provenance of it. So I kind of feel like I don't think that dude himself, MBB 333, is likely to be a liar. There's certainly has channel forever, and there's no tendency for him to suddenly find weird stuff on his own that much. So he seems like he's a straight shooter in that way. If he had found the berries himself, I would trust it more, but he's just getting like a caller. All right. Hey, at least this is working. All right. I don't want to get a copyright strike here. So I'm just going to try to jump forward here. Okay, I don't know. That really looks like a CGI thing to me. Let me just see how it looks. Let me play it a little bit now. Is it going to play?
Digital camera, and he was just out experimenting.
All right, first I'm going to turn off the sound. Off. All right, so there's no video, there's just images. Because, I mean, that would be, like, so easy to fake. So there's a video of the berries, and then only one. I don't know. This really looks like super easy to fake to me. So I'm not real convinced on this one. Now maybe we'll see some version of this. Come on, computer, you could do it. See, not responding. Maybe we'll see some version of this in reality, but just one still shot. And then the berries, there's video of the berries, but they don't zoom in on. Wait, now the whole thing is frozen. I'm going to cry uncle on that one. He was on Ancient Aliens, Mr. MBB. Huh. I've noticed a lot less mosquito bites compared to previous years. Yeah, so for me, the nighttime mosquito bites are definitely way down, but I was never really prone to getting a lot of them. But then we got this new thing called like these daytime mosquitoes that never existed. And they were biting the hell out of me for the first year they showed. It seems like whenever something just shows up, there's like a bajillion of them. But it's dialed way back. Also, we moved, though, so we moved away from a lot of open water areas, so maybe that was it. But yeah, you're right. The nighttime mosquitoes seem a lot less voracious. That would make the mosquitoes into pollinators. I don't know, because will the pollen stick to them? Like, bees are all fuzzy, so the pollen really sticks. So Sapioid says he was sleeping more and got hungrier. I don't know. I've been like fasting, so that's not the norm for me until this month. So I'm not. So, obviously I feel my appetite's going to be all weird now. Just reading. So, yeah, they still need blood, but only once right before they do their eggs, and only the females. That's the new story. We're in a Nintendo game. Yeah, I don't, there's something going on. I don't know. I feel like every day the reality seems more fake. And I just have a harder time taking it seriously. What I see in the news is weirder than the Mandela. Yeah, yeah. And ridiculous stuff happens and nobody's calling it out hardly. Like nobody's going, that's the opposite of what you said last week, which was the opposite of what you said the week before. Or sometimes it's a whole couple months, but nobody's saying, wait, that's bull. You just said the opposite. Nobody's calling out this stuff hardly. I just posted the short of the butterfly. I'm not seeing it, I don't think. I'm hearing something weird from the kitchen. I'm not sure if outside I have the windows open with the screens are there though, but it's like, I don't know if something's in the kitchen or something's really close to the outdoors, but something's like jumping around. I don't know if it's like a rat that's out on the windowsill or something. I might have to go check in a minute. It's kind of bugging me though. Did I see the hover bike? No, I don't think I did. The extreme weather, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't know. Everything is just weird. Well, the nuclear stuff, it's just like, I feel like they pull that one out every couple years. And for a while, it was North Korea. So, like, everybody's that guts nukes is a little wacky, occasionally threatens to bomb with it. I just don't take it seriously. Trudeau singing karaoke in a hotel lobby. Yeah, I never heard him ever sing before either, so. So yeah, my sleep has just been weird because I'll sleep like 5 hours, then I'll sleep like 12 hours, and then I'm like totally disconnected from the rest of reality with my sleep. It's like I don't know what the heck. I used to sleep very regularly, years ago. I don't know. I don't know, and all the world leaders are just weird anymore, saying weird stuff, making choices that are obviously ridiculous, like singing at a funeral, or Biden looking like Hitler in his speech with the weird red light and the black and the red, and he looks more like he looked more like some kind of Star Wars bad guy. I mean, who would make those choices? Somebody would be like, no, this is stupid. I think Putin is in a pseudo-psychotic state. I don't know. The thing is, like, I don't really think it's that weird if he kind of saber rattles, because, I mean, all of the leaders do. And a lot of stuff we hear from him is just according to the mainstream media, but there's no backing for it. So I don't really trust the mainstream media anywhere, not the Republican side. I don't trust the Dem side. I don't think any of them can be trusted. So whatever they say about Putin, unless it comes out of his mouth, I don't really trust it. So remember they were saying he was sick and gonna die soon, and now that's all now fine. Suddenly he's not sick and gonna die. Now he's threatening nukes or something. I don't know. There's always some kind of stuff. And then before he was sick and gonna die, there was an imminent like overthrow of Russia. Now that's all dead. I mean, it's like every month there's this new imminent thing that was going to happen in Russia. It never happens. So I don't think you can trust any of that stuff. So I don't know. I don't feel like you can really trust anything right now. It's certainly not anything on the news. My day and night rhythms has changed. Yeah, I'm not hardly connected to the real sun rhythms now. It just feels like. I used to have a feeling when it was late and a different feeling when it was morning and a different feel. You know, that the times of day used to have a feeling to them. And somebody was mentioning that on Retcon that I thought was interesting is that it used to be that when you went outside, outside had a feeling, like an outsidey feeling. It was a nice feeling, like this outside feeling. It doesn't really have that anymore. They're just hardly either none or just a tiny hair of the old feeling. It doesn't have that, ooh, yeah, outside. Night doesn't feel like night. Day doesn't have the day feeling. Sunset doesn't have the sunset feeling. Sunrise. There used to be all these feelings attached to those, and they're gone. When she mentioned, that person on Redcon mentioned that the night, you know, they mentioned those feelings that were the outside. A whole lot of that feeling of connection to reality is just not there anymore. So anyway, if you want a link to the hover bike, I'm not sure. So there was a thing on Retcon about the old electric scooters from 1900s now. And we've had those on before. And I think there was a question at the time. There were only a few images, and there was a question of whether it was gas or not. And we hadn't really settled it. But now they're definitely electric, and there's a bajillion photos of them, and they're electric. So, like, just they look just like the scooters we have now, really, except for they've got some fenders on them. But like, it's ridiculous. So the 1900s, there was now electric scooters in like 1910 or something, 1920, I think it was. So tomato flu, yeah, I had tomato flu on, I think, a couple weeks ago. I don't think one can be a world leader without losing some sanity. And Putin definitely seems even crazier than other crazy world leaders. Now, you know what? I don't think Putin's crazier than Trump, and I don't think he's any crazier than Biden. He's certainly not any crazier than like North Korea. So I just don't feel like it's that weird. I mean, Ukraine was bombing Donbass for 8 years, and there's all this talk about how America was hoping to drag him into a proxy war. So there's a whole trail of crumbs of why that happened that go way beyond he just invaded for no reason. So Ukraine is really part of Russia, and Putin's just... So historically, Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union, along with a lot of other areas and that wanted freedom when the Soviet Union kind of collapsed. And so Ukraine voted to leave, but Ukraine on the east side was heavily Russian. The Russian speakers, Ukraine's kind of weird because it hasn't been its own territory in a long time. It was chunks of it were part of other territories for a long time. It hasn't been its own country. I think it's been like 200 years where Ukraine was one country. But that general area decided to try to go it alone from the Soviet Union or Russia. And but there was a schism that started off pretty early because you had the east side that was heavily Russian, and you had the west side that was heavily anti-Russian. Like they were, there's different nationalities, and it wasn't the Russian nationality very strong on the west side. And the schism has just grown over, recent years as they started to vote more and more differently, and the west side was more influenced by, United States. And then tried to impose more and more anti-Russian stuff on the east side, which were against that because they were Russian speakers. They didn't totally love Russia, the homeland country government, but they didn't want to not be Russian ethnicity anymore. So the schism, finally broke open when the Donbass area decided that they wanted to be free of the Ukraine, the rest of Ukraine. And it's just kind of spiraled from there. So I'm not going to say that it's all Russia's fault. I'm not going to say that Russia's innocent, or at least Putin. It's a complicated situation over there. And Ukraine was voted the most crooked country in Europe for many years before this latest issue. And it's basically been kind of controlled by various rather crooked influences for some time now. Russia for a while, then they were Western puppets most recently. It's such a total mess. There's not like a good guy, bad guy, white, black situation over there. There hasn't been for a long time. So I don't know what I could say. Ukraine should or shouldn't do this, or it's all a big corrupt mess over there from both sides of the fence. I mean, Ukraine's got its oligarchs and crookedness. Zelensky's number one oligarch, crooked friend, stole so much money out of a bank that he had to flee the country until Zelensky got control and invited him back. That guy is completely ridiculously crooked. Donated a giant house, worth, I don't know what, $1 million or something, gave it to Zelensky in Miami. I mean, it's a total mess over there. Not like I trust Putin, of course, but just, I would just say, don't trust anything over there. It is such a mess. Okay, so anyways, those two. I wanted to cover this one because I kind of check this sub called App Topics, and it's just kind of like weird light phenomena. And they mentioned a couple on here lately. So we've seen all these weird halos around the sun and stuff. So this is the most recent one. This apparently halo around the sun can happen. And so it starts out as a normal halo. Let me see if I don't think I can make it larger. But then I'm not sure if it's your location or what. I mean, I'm not sure what causes this, but it can now switch out to be like this eye-shaped thing. And they're calling it a circumscribed halo. I've never seen that before. So this is the halo we're used to, but it can go out to like this now. So then that's kind of a new pattern that I have not seen before this. I have not heard of this term, circumscribed halo. And then somebody else said, so this guy was just describing something he saw. And then somebody else said it could be a sun parry arc. Sun parry arc. And I don't exactly know what this one is either. You can check out the simulation. So I kind of look for these, and it just looks like they're, it gets more and more complicated. So this one is, I guess, this arc, and it can have all these different shapes now. You can see that one of them is kind of looking like an eye. So I'm going to just type sun parry arc in there. So you can basically have what it makes the sun look like an eye, because it'll be like the center part of the eye, and then around the edges will be like outlines that are eye shaped. So I had one of these. Let's see. So the other thing that's happening is that like just one of these will show, like you'll just get the circle, or you'll just get the tippy edges, like here. So here you don't really see the other stuff, but this shows up really bright. And this one you'll have, see if I can make that larger. Open extra. So here you'll have, I haven't seen this one recently. This does look more and more like an eye now, and it's starting to have like an outline. Don't remember this one bright. So it used to be you could get the halo and then you get shadows of these, but now you could just get like one. Like you may not get much halo here, but you could see this, or you could just see this, or so that's kind of a change that we're seeing in this whole spiel. Just kind of running through it now. So we don't have any really good examples of some of these yet. Oh, here's that one from before. Let's see if it'll load. So it's kind of like the edge is splitting here. Hopefully you can see that. And I have not seen this look before. So this is out of an airplane, but rest assured that we will probably get this on the ground eventually. I think these things are just showing up now. There's not that many images of them, but I think we will get them. This one actually looks like it's really there. So you can see there's this really strong like beard thing on it now. And it used to, suddenly it just splits another way right here. This is more, I mean, every time I look at this, it just looks different. Then there's more and more options all the time. There's more names for stuff. Upper tangent arc, concave, parry arc. Why are all these octagons and stuff here? It's like, I don't even want to try learning it because it's just going to change next week anyways. I see Ukraine as dominantly good people. I don't know. I don't know any Ukrainians. I've never been to Ukraine. All you can hear about is individuals interviewed on TV and only a few of them. And who knows if they're, you know, paid agents and shills or actual Ukrainian people. Seems like every news agency just trots out their own people who are coached on what to say. So you look at Russian TV and they trot out all these people that say they're Ukrainian and then they completely say the Russian side. And then you see Western media trots out these people and they say completely the Western side and claim to be Ukrainian. And, you know, you have to kind of assume it's all vetted from both sides. I don't think you can really assume that anything on CNN is really going to be the complete and honest news. Neither can you trust anything from Russia. I guess just the paranoid of Putin, like seeing him have a cabinet meeting where at one end of a long table. So, you know, I saw those cabinet meetings where he's at one end of a long table and they said it was because of COVID and it was 2-3 years ago. And then suddenly now they are trotting out those own pictures and saying now he's paranoid that someone's gonna stab him. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure those are just old COVID pictures because there are plenty of images recently where he's not at the end of a long table. So I have a feeling the Western media is just trotting out old COVID pictures and saying it's paranoia. Well, you know, they said to keep a 6-foot distance and everybody was doing it and you weren't paranoid, you were just smart 2 years ago. Now you trot out the same pictures and it's proof you're paranoid. Yeah, okay. See, you can't trust, everything is spun. You just can't trust it. I think USA has many good leaders. I don't know who that'd be. I feel like every one of them's been caught in at least 10 lies by now. Almost every one of them, especially all the ones in high positions of power. Might be a few congressmen here or there that aren't too corrupt. I don't know. You know, for a while it said in the Bible, during the end times, don't trust any of your leaders. Don't trust any of them. And then that disappeared again. I had this on the show. Last time I looked, it wasn't in there anymore. I wasn't aware that, well, you know, see, here's the thing. I know that they had those table photos during the pandemic. I remember seeing them during the pandemic. And then I saw more of them after the pandemic. And I don't know what the dates are on those. So, you know, maybe he's just still doing it from the pandemic, but it started during the pandemic. It didn't start from the Ukraine thing. And I mean, is he really actually, is it paranoid if your concern is legit? How many high-ranking people of several countries, presidents, have been assassinated lately? For instance, several of the countries that refused to do the COVID vaccines, several of them had heart attacks, and one was assassinated. It's admitted it was an assassination. So, are you paranoid if you're afraid you're going to get assassinated when probably a lot of people are gunning to assassinate you? I don't think that's paranoid. I think that's just smart. If I was Putin in his position, I think there's a legitimate concern that he might get assassinated. All right, what do we got here? Got that one. Got that one. Got that one. This one comes from Mark Tyus. Found some interesting. Oh, wait, you know what? Let me do these orcas real quick. Orcas. I think we had orcas on here before, but it has, we've had the coloration changes on orcas, but it's kind of reached a new level. We've also had the collapsing dorsals on orcas, but it's now reached a situation now where they're saying 100% of male orcas in captivity have collapsing dorsals. And I also saw the large dorsal fins last time. Well, they've gotten larger, and I think I figured out what's going on. So if you look up orcas, and remember they used to be, they call them killer whales, but they weren't really whales. But now they are really whales, except for dolphins are whales of the whale family. And so, I don't know, the story... the story of they're not whales, they are whales, they're not. They keep... So look at these dorsals. I mean, these are ridiculous. And this is now apparently standard for males, that they have a double-sized dorsal fin. That's the fin on the top. This is not a side fin. This is the fin on the top of the orca. They are now this big, standardly, as for males, and double the size of females. It's a dorsal fins on the males are about 5.9 feet, which is 1.8 meters. And they are about over even double the size of the females. So I don't remember any of the whales having this big of fins, dorsals. I did see some biggish ones last time I had this on the show, but they weren't this big. And I hadn't figured out that it was... I don't know if it was true then, but I know now that they're saying this is only the males, but that is just not wrong. They're also saying that males have a larger occipital crest, and I've noticed a lot of animals are growing like these weird things on the top of the head here, and a lot of times they'll be more in the males. I'm not really seeing it really obviously in the males, but you can see there's a little bit of a hump here. I have a feeling that we're going to see more of that on the males. Incoming, but it's not real prominent yet. But you can see, it used to be that the males and the females looked pretty similar. You couldn't really tell. This one might kind of show it though. You could see this one has a little bit of a hump. That one just seems like it has less of a... I don't remember there being a hump thing like this, because this right here, let me show it to you in another image. This right here stops being obviously, I want to say aerodynamic, but, be water dynamic. It looks like it's not ideal for parting the waters like this one does. And I don't remember it kind of humping up and back down right there. I do remember it humping down here, but not like there. So that seems to be something that is growing, especially in the males. And then those giant, stupid-sized dorsal fins. So you can see here the female has like a more normal... It actually looks like a little dinky on the females even for me. Like they got smaller and the males got bigger. Okay, and the other story then is that now they're saying like... Orca... dorsal fin collapse. Now they're saying like some places said 90%, but other places said 100% of captive male orcas have this dorsal fin collapse. Now, I'm kind of guessing they're going to say it's more in the males because the male fins are bigger. But when I was a kid, I went to watch these and I never saw any collapsed fin on any orca ever in my life until like the last year. I mean, if I saw that, I'd be like, what in the F is wrong with that orca? If you saw this, you'd be like, no, nature equals 1%, captivity equals 100%. So then they say they don't know why that happens. Is it because they're spending too much time at the surface? They're not getting enough swimming in, whatever. So I saw this last time and they said some of the whales, but it is now 100% of males and some of the females, but I couldn't really get a number. They're really vaguey on the female thing. And they're saying if it's in the wild, it's because the animal is like sick or something. So you can see these are all wild ones. And see, you got the weird coloration going on up at the top here that we talked about before. And then these are all the captive ones. All of them have collapsed dorsal now. I mean, it just, even when they're underwater, you can see it. So you would have seen, you know, I mean... See, look at this. Even underwater, they have it. If it's collapsed, it's collapsed. I mean, have you ever seen anything like that before the last year or two? I think you'd remember. Anyway, yeah, no, that's just not a thing. There's another image of it. Yeah, no. So anyway, that's the thing with that now. I think that's all I got on that one. I'm going down to the bottom. It's back to Interview with the Vampire. It was a vampire for me, so I think you might have flipped universes. To me, it was a straight was Interview with a Vampire, and then the was a different color and everything, and then it switched to Interview with the Vampire. So I don't know. I've seen a lot of people suddenly have the opposite, like the opposite Mandela for me in the last year or so. That's been a big thing. So it sounds like you're one of those people. So it's a flip-flop for you, but it's just a straight Mandela for me. I don't pay attention to lyrics. I just like the music. Sometimes my husband will hear a song and be shocked and say, "Did you hear that?" I'm like, "Nope." Every song that I listen to has slight changes in the words now for me. And a lot of times they're small, like used to be the, or just one word replacement that it's a similar meaning. Well, biology's crazy. I can't keep up. I know. But I don't even cover the lyrics unless it's really extreme anymore, because there's just so many that it just kind of, it's like I don't want to hear it. I just, I think a case can be made that Democrats aren't as corrupt as Republicans. Nope. No, you know what? Every Democrat says they try to say, well, the Republicans are worse. And every Republican tries to say the Dems are worse. They're both bad. Whoever's in charge shows their colors the most because they have the most ability to be corrupt. There's no way I'm going to say one's better than the other. I think that's just bias. I would actually, if somebody wasn't a Democrat, like say they were a libertarian or a Green Party, if some libertarian or Green Party came to me and said, I think the Democrats might be more trustworthy, I might think they were less biased. But so far, everybody I know that thinks Dems are less biased, they like the Dems. And everybody I know that is Republican is like, oh, well, okay, the Republicans have some problems, but the Republicans are better. It's the bias. I just don't trust it. I don't think you can trust either side. They take turns lying. It's like the WWF is what politics are. Oh yeah, the Survivor Staircase. Now one of the other Mandela shows had the Survivor Staircase on. I'm kind of assuming you're going to link to that person. I'm sorry. Yeah, I never heard of the Survivor Staircase in 9/11. Have you ever heard of the Survivor Staircase? It's supposed to be some big famous thing where people hid under the staircase and survived, and then they even I got to take the studio out, I think, to make that work. And they even took the staircase and put it in a museum and all this yammer that's complete bunk. It was one of the other shows that had that on. Let's see if it'll come up. Blah. Right, so I don't want to steal somebody's thunder. Yeah, this is loading slow. I don't even know whose channel this is. It was... Look at how slow it's loading. I'm going to get rid of this dorsal fin. Maybe that'll help it. Yeah, it was recall vector. Okay, recall vector. All right, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but you can definitely go to his show and check it out. There it is. This is the Survivor Staircase. It's in a museum now, I think. The last, let's see, let's get it. The Survivor Staircase was the last visible remaining original structure above ground level at the World Trade Center site. It was originally an outdoor flight of granite-clad stairs and 2 escalators. Blah, blah, blah. All right, what's next? During the September 11 attacks, the stairs served as an escape route for hundreds of evacuees from 5 World Trade Center, a 9-story building adjacent to the Twin Towers. The staircase is now an important feature of the Memorial Museum. Yeah, whoever heard of that thing? I have never heard of it. It was listed as one of America's most endangered places by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. I never heard of it. Let's see. Oh, there's some kind of ridiculous... I actually saw this one. It's a good find. Recall vector. I assume you found it. I didn't really watch the whole thing, but it's a good find. It's baloney. I've never heard of it. And it's listed with like the sunken battleship USS Arizona and the memorial to the attack on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Heavily linked to survivors' shared experience of the attacks. Blah, blah, blah. The Survivor's Staircase. Anyway, yeah, no, it's total hooey. I'm sorry. That is not it. Let's see if I can shrink this down. Close. Go back. Go back again. So yeah, anybody ever heard of this Survivor's Staircase thing? One more back. Yeah, good find. Recall vector. Let's see if this is going to load sometime this millennia. All right, go back to live chat. I wonder how many good politicians only seem that way because they are low level. Or maybe they are low level because they don't play the game. Or maybe that's just how things are in this reality, that we need to see the corruption. The corruption gets more obvious every month. It's like it's an opportunity to wake up. But then strangely, people become more and more blind to what is obviously there. So, is that the strong delusion where you just can't see, the corruption in your own, no matter how much is in your face, they just make excuses for it. Oh, well, those people over there are worse. That is like the biggest thing that's bugging me is, okay, well, yeah, we did that, but those guys are worse. I don't want to hear those guys are worse. It's like, it's like arguing over who's worse, Mao or Hitler. I don't want to hear it. Oh, well, Mao killed more people. Well, Hitler, but it was an accident by Mao and Hitler did it on the purpose. Whatever. They're both garbage. They're trash. I don't want to hear better trash party number 1 or trash party number 2 arguing over who is slightly less trashy. I mean, it is just an affront to all decency to be arguing which trash party is better. And, as far as their points, they say that they're for something. They don't do crap about what they say they're for. They say they're going to do this and that, and it's just lip service. They don't do any of it. So who cares what they say if they're not going to do it, and then they actually do the opposite? It's just a big lie. It's like a certain actress that claims that she donated all of her winnings for a certain thing to a certain charity, and then you find out she didn't do any of that. Well, that's how all of the politicians are. They give lip service to something. Like, for instance, the Democrats made a big stink about Trump's tariffs. But not only did they leave the tariffs in place, but they add like a couple hundred new countries to even worse tariffs than Trump did. Did you hear crap all about that on the news? No. I only know about it because I have to pay the tariffs, the import duty tariffs. It's supposed to be on the other countries, but guess who pays for them? It's the American shipping it in that pays for that crap. So, there's 100 stories like that from both sides. The Republicans say that they're for fiscal responsibility, but when they get in, they just spend a bunch of money we don't have. Exactly the same, worse than the guy before them. It's all bull and lies. How did this week go so fast? Yeah, I do feel like we're like jamming, and probably because I slept through one whole day almost is not helping. But yes, it did. I did feel like I just did this last week. Like I just did this 2 days ago, and we're here already. Okay. All right. So that's male orcas. This one, okay. I've got like 3 from Mark Tyus now. I got 40 minutes, so that should be enough. I think I'm like in a crabby mood because I'm extra, I'm blaming it all on the politicians. I'm just so, I think I was watching Jimmy Dore earlier today and I'm like, Jimmy Dore, one thing good about Jimmy Dore on YouTube is sometimes I think he's wrong on a few things and sometimes I think he doesn't get the whole picture, like he needed to do more research. And sometimes I disagree with his take on things. But one thing I feel like, at least in general, is that he is at least honest, like on his opinion. Like he's not deliberately. I mean, if he's wrong, it's because he's just wrong. I don't think he's lying. And he calls out both sides, and so he'll rip on the Republicans, he'll rip on the Dems, he'll rip on anybody. And he finds out a lot of stuff. People tell him stuff, and he calls out a lot of stuff. And his segments are kind of short, so it doesn't take 100 hours to listen. And then he's kind of funny. So I know he was pulling out some of the latest hypocrisy. So he has a lot more stuff on Dems lately because Dems are in charge. But rest assured that if a Republican gets in, then he will rip them. And And he will actually throw a bone to somebody if they're right. And he doesn't do it in that condescending way that a lot of them do. But all right, so maybe that's why I'm in a mood, because I just saw a bunch more stuff from him earlier. I'm like, ah. Ram Air Turbine. This one, wiki. So this one is by Mark Tyus. Have you guys heard of anything like if your electronics go out in your plane, then they have this thing they stick out of the side of the plane that will like use the air to like make electricity and hydraulics work? So if all the electronics goes out in your plane, now you have this other, and it's since the 60s, and planes, I mean, have you heard of this? Because I was like, what? It's called Ram Air Turbine. It's a wind turbine that they just stick out of the side of the plane. Like, oh no, I've lost all of my my electronics and my hydraulics, so I'll just pop out the emergency air electricity generator thingy madoogle. And here's one in one plane. If you have heard of this, I'm like, no, I don't. I'm sorry, I'm not a total plane expert, but I'm like, what? Well, what? So apparently just about all the planes have these now, backup generator things that run on air. I'm like, what? Modern aircraft generally use, they're called RATs. RATS, Ram Air Turbines, RATs. Modern aircraft generally use RATs only in an emergency. In the case of the loss of both primary and auxiliary power sources, the RAT will power vital systems, flight controls, hydraulics, flight critical instrumentation. Some RATs produce only hydraulic power, which is in turn used to power electric generators. In some early aircraft, including airships, so that would be, you know, like Zeppelins and stuff, small RATs were permanently mounted and operated a small electrical generator or fuel pump. So they're saying that Zeppelins had these RATs now. Some constant speed propellers, such as those on Argus AS410 engines used in the Focke-Wulf FW-189, used a propeller turbine on the spinner to power a self-contained pitch governor controlling this constant speed. I feel like I'm just in another planet talking about stuff now. Modern aircraft. So these RATs are really old. Modern aircraft generate power in the main engines through burning turbine engine called auxiliary power unit. The RAT generates power from the airstream due to the speed of the aircraft. If the aircraft speeds are low, the RAT will produce less power. In normal conditions, the RAT is retracted into the fuselage or wing and is deployed manually or automatically following complete loss of power. In the time between the power loss and the RAT deployment, batteries are used. I mean, like how many documentaries, movies, and everything in their uncle were there? Oh my God, the electronics are down, the power's down. That's it. You're screwed. That's it. If you can't get the power up, then you got no instruments, you're dead. There was never like, oh, now I'm going to deploy the RAT. I mean, have you ever heard of that? RATs are common in military aircraft, which must be capable of surviving sudden complete loss of power. Pod-fitted systems such as Vulcan cannon or high-powered electronics such as Anal 99 jamming system can be powered by a RAT. Just imagine these little rats running on a little wheel. They're powered by a rat. And these look like little hamster wheels too. I mean, don't they? Let's see. Some free-fall nuclear weapons, such as the British Yellow Sun and Redbeard, use rats to power radar altimeters and firing circuits. These were a more reliable alternative to batteries. Many commercial airlines of the 1960s are equipped with rats. The Airbus 380 has the largest rat in the world. Rats, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It's just civilian incidents involving rat deployment. U.S. Airways Flight 549. Wait, that's that one. Isn't that famous one? That's that famous one. The guy went down in the Hudson. Was that the one? The Miracle of the Hudson, yeah. So they deployed a rat? They're saying this is on the list of rats that were deployed. Interesting. I've not... Remember Miracle on the Hudson that... and the pilot got all these kudos for dropping it gently into the ocean, into the Hudson over here, Hudson River. An unpowered ditch landing. So where was the rat used then? See, yeah, he did an unpowered landing. So where is the rat? Ram. No. Both the APU and rat were operated as the plane descended onto the river. Okay, so I guess then it was used in the Miracle on the Hudson. I've never heard of that. Interesting. Okay. All right. Anyway, I don't know. Have you guys ever heard of this thing? I don't know. Airplane people. Tell the airplane people, have they ever heard of this rat thing? Have you heard about E-Plane Air? Canada is buying. The idiots are buying 30 of them. They're like chargeable? E-Plane Air Canada? I mean, they can barely charge a freaking car to go very far. How are they going to charge a whole plane, which takes like a bajillion times the power to function? E-Plane Air Canada. Orders 30-seater electric plane from Hart Aerospace. You know, it sounds stupid, but who knows what the timeline is going to bring. You know, we might get some upgrades on this crap so it starts working. All we need is a couple of timeline upgrades to battery and stuff. Hart Aerospace ES-30 electric aircraft. I still don't see how they can... I mean, the size of the batteries they would need to get this thing to run. Anyway, you know what? I'm gonna question the timeline less, because even though it looks impossible and ridiculous, we don't know what the next shifts are gonna bring. Rats on the plane, better than snakes on the plane. Windmills on the plane. Yes, it basically is. It's windmills on the plane. Rats. It looks like a little rat thing, you know? It looks like a little hamster wheel with rats. I like Jimmy Dore, though once in a while I think the man is stupid on a position. Yeah, every now and then I'm like, no, you're smoking something. And he literally is smoking something. Sometimes he admits to it, okay? But I don't feel like he's being, I generally feel like he's being reasonably honest. I think he's just stupid sometimes, but he is kind of humble. I don't know. And he's kind of just plain spoken, so I do like it. Apparently you can only fly from Ottawa to Toronto to Ottawa, less than 2 hours, and charge them for a whole day. And the capacity is low. 30 people. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I just thinking, all this electronic stuff sounds ridiculous right now because the grid can't there's no way that the grid in like California can actually charge all these vehicles that they want to put and but if we have some shifts, then that could change. So, I'm trying to keep an open mind on that stuff. Or if we get some breakthroughs in battery, or if they get a breakthrough in like energy generation, power generation, then that could all change like really fast. So I kind of have a feeling like the timeline is going somewhere. And it could be it's going to hell in a handbasket, right? Or it could be that this is going to meld seamlessly with some future backwards in time technology upgrades. Like, for instance, battery stuff is really going backwards in time. We've got those freaking scooters from the 1920s, battery scooters and stuff. And what we really need is some battery upgrades. So maybe that's what we're working on right now. Backwards in time, forwards in time with the batteries. Imagine the battery on a plane catch on fire. I don't know, but I mean, engines catch on fire and stuff too. So I guess they're going to deploy the rat. I mean, that's all they're going to do. Deploy the rat and set down in the Hudson. Canada's got the Hudson Bay, right? They're all set. We had the Hudson River. They got the Hudson Bay. A lot of bum batches of fruit this summer. Interesting. Yeah, you know what? My tree didn't flower, and I don't know why. I didn't get my persimmons this year. I don't think I'm going to get them unless it's supposed to flower at the end of summer. And I'm like, I think we're supposed to have our fruits now, and there ain't nothing on there. So maybe one day Mandela affected barbecue picnic party. Yeah, I really should think about having another like meetup. Last time I suggested a meetup and nobody on the show wanted to have a meetup. So it would be like in San Diego area, but got no bites, so I don't know. You're not allowed to have batteries on the plane. Even one plane crashed because of fire and batteries. Oh, last I checked, you could have some. I mean, people bring their headphones and stuff. There was limits. You could not have big batteries was what it was. And they allow those charging devices, backup batteries for, you have your laptop on there, those are batteries. You have your cell phone on there, those are batteries. There was a limit in size though. So it's kind of funny because you can't have a big battery, but I can have 10 small batteries that would have the same power as the big battery. Every time I buy avocados, strawberries, and tomatoes, they're rotten 3 days later. I don't know if that's a supply chain issue or what. I do feel like the tomatoes are not lasting as long as they used to. I mean, like, I just bought it and there's already a couple mushy ones in there. It used to take a while. I usually whale down my tomatoes pretty fast, though. It shows you're buying the real fruits. I'm not, though. It's the same old crap, so I don't know. Stringy avocados. We've had that on. The avos are getting all these strings, and for some people, they've always been there. And the rest of us are like, ew, what is these strings? So Shari has got all the freshness at her house, obviously. She's had fruits for 3 months. So I guess we're just going to have to move to wherever you are. All right, I get to clack along here. So yes, good find, Mark. All right, there's 2 more. I think this is the one I picked for my thumbnail. It's apparently there's different names for Hercules now. And he called it Hercules waterfall monument in Germany. But when I looked up, it was Hercules waterfall monument in Germany. This thing is from 1696. I've never seen this freaking thing before. And it's totally awesome. So here's the top of it. So keep in mind, this is from 1696. So even it looks kind of weirdly fakey. Dang, that's really not a very good image of it. Maybe I should put this in a Google. Every now and then Google's good for something. One thing they're good for is a few more images sometimes. There we go. So one thing I like about Google is it has this secondary offering of images. So this thing has been redone recently, but is super awesome possum. All right, this one has a very nice large one. I believe this is after the redoing or in the middle of the redoing. I have never freaking heard of it, so no, that's not what we want. Open image, a new tab. There we go. Yeah, see this one, they're redoing it here, so that's why it's all white. But this is old school here, and this just goes like a cajillion miles. So these are people right here. This person here, this white yellow dot is a person. So you can see the length of this. So, and they're saying that this is all operated by natural springs and manually operated on-off spigots feeds this water. So they're not pumping this water. They somehow get this water going down this thing since 1696. If you like Tartaria stuff, this would be right along those kinds of avenues of research. Okay, I don't know what this, I actually couldn't find a lot of images. It's like the same images over and over. There's not a lot of history on it. The way this is all scraped out is weird. I don't know. This is just weird. And it's got like all this, it looks like this natural scraping and then the bricks on top. And it's a really bizarre looking thing. Now keep in mind, like each one of these steps is like as tall as a person. So these are like 6-foot steps here. It looks like it's this little thing, but it's massive. I'm trying to find an image that shows it that you could really see. See, that one's tiny also. This might be a little bit better of an image. No, I don't want to load all that. Let's try this. Okay, so you can see here, like this woman is standing here. And these are each one as tall as a person. Looks like they're in the middle reworking. I've never heard of this thing before. And it's in, what was it, Kessel or something, Germany? Hercules Monument, Kessel Wiki built. So they supposedly built it 1696 to 1717. Let me find that wiki. Hercules Monument. There's like no info there. Let's find the wiki. City of Castle. Hercules is a copper statue depicting the ancient Greek demigod Hercules. So I guess Hercules is the guy on the top of that thing. Is located on the top of a pyramid, which stands on top of the octagon. The statue and other parts of the monument were constructed at different times. I don't know. It says it finished it in 1717, though, so I'm a little confused now on that. Water features were built 1714, 308 years ago. The Cascades are 250 meters long, 820 feet long, stone structure shaped as a staircase. The water starts from Hercules Monument and runs down the Cascades, finally tumbling down the aqueduct before arriving at the lake where a fountain of about 160 feet ends the spectacle. 160 feet, that's 50 meters. About 350,000 liters or 92,000 gallons of water are needed. The system relies on natural pressure from reservoirs and underground pipes whose locks are opened manually. The Hercules statue was built from 1701 to 1717, so 16 years to build the statue. 2005, it was restructured, including the statue. So it was like they did something to it, but it doesn't really explain what they did. Restructuring of the entire monument. What does that even mean? I don't know. All right, there's Hercules. There's the restructuring. More restructuring. So I don't know. Have you ever heard of that thing? Because it seems pretty amazing. Food supply likely to worsen. So many without food supply in every country. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I feel like a lot of these countries, they've all changed shape. Are they even there? I mean, I don't actually know anybody personally that is impacted. I do know some people around the world, yet everybody. Yeah, Castle, Kassel. I don't know anybody personally that it was impacted, even though I do know people around the world. All of them just magically end up out of the fire. So I'm not really sure what's going on with that. You think this would be in movies or TV shows? I know, it's amazing, and it's 300 years old. Naturally sourced water. It's completely just so cool. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's got Tartaria all over it. Germans good with water magic. Well, Germans have their, definitely have their reputation for cool machinery and stuff. But I mean, still, that's just completely insane. And I've never even seen it on Tartaria, and it screams of Tartaria. All right, so okay, I got one last thing, and this one is extra awesome possum. So this one again, Mark Ty has found the Hercules monument thingy Madougal in Castle. And he also found this one, and it's this weird new Aurora Borealis phenomena. It's called Substorm. So you look this up, it doesn't sound like it's that rare, but I can find almost no videos on it. So I feel like this one might be kind of like hot off the presses here. I did find this one video. I actually found it on YouTube, and this one is on News Flare, so hopefully it won't be too much of a mess. It's a mess. All right, let's try just going straight to YouTube, shall we? Hey, there's mine. Yes, I want to watch my own video. Okay. This is it. Okay, so this is apparently nighttime. So these substorms are like, I should actually kind of, Substorm wiki, just to set the stage here. Substorm, sometimes referred to as magnetospheric substorm or auroral substorm. Have you ever heard of auroral substorm? Is a brief disturbance in the Earth's magnetosphere that causes energy to be released from the tail of the magnetosphere and injected into the high latitude ionosphere. It doesn't say what causes the disturbance. Visually, a substorm is seen as a sudden brightening and increased movement of auroral arcs. Substorms were first described in qualitative terms by Christian Birkeland, which she called polar elementary storms. Sidney Chapman used the term substorm about 1960, which is now the standard term. All right, so the story then is, when you have a geomagnetic storm, we know about that like days in advance, and they're like, okay, there's going to be more auroras, it's going to be stronger, maybe it'll go all the way down to blah, blah, blah location this time, which seems like it's lower every time. But the substorms, no, they're just like suddenly there's a whole bunch of auroral activity. And supposedly, suddenly, it can be so bright to be like daytime. So have you ever heard of that? Like suddenly it's daytime with like no warning. Look at the shorty little wiki here. They've known about it since I don't know, it doesn't even say when it started that they knew about it. But from 1960 on, they used the current term. Okay, so substorms, substorms, on the other hand, take place over a period of a few hours, are observable primarily at the polar regions, do not inject many particles into the radiation belt, and are relatively frequent, often occurring only a few hours apart from each other. Substorms can be more intense and occur more frequently during a geomagnetic storm. When one substorm may start before the previous one has completed. The source of the magnetic disturbances observed at Earth's surface during geomagnetic storms is the ring current, whereas the sources of magnetic disturbances observed in the ground during substorms are electric currents in the ionosphere at high latitudes. All right, so basically now there's this thing that suddenly there'll be a storm, and it'll just be a storm of light, and apparently it could be like daytime. And this is the one I saw earlier. So this is nighttime, except for it turns into daytime, if this is the same one I saw before. Come on, load up. So there's almost no images of these substorms. It does say that it can turn night to day, but this is the only one I saw. So it's nighttime, right? And they're bopping along at nighttime. And here it is nighttime, and then suddenly it's daytime. And have you ever heard of any auroras making it like daytime? As bright as daytime? There's more of it too. And then it ended, and then it kept going. Or is that a replay of the same one? I'm not sure, actually. Okay. So there's not much info then on how long this lasts. But they say it's common. It could be like every hour or something. And some of them, I don't know. So I've never heard of this where it's just suddenly like daytime. So I'm calling baloney on that. Oh, we talking about sugar gliders? Sugars are like, yeah, they're little monkeys that they fly like flying squirrels. So originally in my timeline, there was only flying squirrels. There were no sugar gliders. And they're super cute, like little Pokemons. And everybody keeps them in pets at this timeline. There's lots of them. And they're super, super, super cute. I don't know if you've seen sugar gliders before. I know I've had them on here a bunch of times. They're ridiculous. They're like Pokemon. And they're like pets. Everybody's got them as pets, so it's not like they're rare or anything. We didn't even have them, and now they're everybody's pet. Look at that little Pokemon beast. They're super tiny. See, there's one in somebody's hand. This is an even better image. Open image, a new tab. Look at that. That's insane. Then they glide, fly like squirrels do, like flying squirrels. Now we got 7 minutes left. Probably a few more than that. We're never going to survive unless we get a little crazy. I know. I feel like I'm crazier every day. Oh. You know, somehow if something changed from like 10 years ago or even 3 years ago, it's not as weird as like I went in there to get my chocolate wafers and they were in one bag with one bunch of stuff 2 days ago, and now they're somewhere else, and nobody touched them, and there's no way, and I didn't do it. So, just like, no. Yeah, and everything is just so, it helps a lot if you just don't watch any TV or news, because if you just walk out there, things seem a lot more normal. It still feels weird, but people aren't like acting nearly as weird as is on TV and YouTube and media and social media. It's crazy. Yeah, I've been to zoos, plenty of pet stores, had girlfriends, parents owned pet store. Yep, I know, I know. Bill Knight, you and I must have just shifted into glider world. I know I've had sugar gliders on here. They're kind of older Mandela for me. The hover bike is called X Turismo. All right, I got time to check it out. X Turismo. I want to thank my computer for acting nicely for the rest of the show, despite a rocky early start. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. This is like basically a giant drone. All right. I saw this a few years ago where they were starting to just cobble a bunch of drones together, and then you have flying people. So the drones are the thing. Um, all right, this makes sense. So yes, this is giant flying drone hover bike. Okay. I don't think there's going to be any limit in height because it just has these little skids for landing. Open a new image. I'm not surprised at this because I started seeing people cobbling these things together. So, what we need now is we need a better fuel source because it's going to be expensive powering this thing. It's going to be like gallons to the mile instead of miles to the gallon. So what's going to hold this down is going to be the cost of gas. We are basically waiting for a cheaper fuel source before we can get the true advantage. It's just going to be for like rich people. And, you know, you're going to have to worry about like slamming into seagulls and stuff. I mean, this is going to be the playground of the rich and famous until we need our fuel source. So we could either get like really good batteries where you could put solar and then charge this over like 2 weeks of solar or something and then fly it for a while and then recharge it, or we're going to need a really good fuel source, or like both. I think we'll get it though. I think it's coming. We got to go to the right timeline though. Open a new tab. Pick your timelines carefully, people. Because, you know, most of the mess we're in could be pretty much be fixed pretty fast if we got better batteries, like some kind of cold fusion free energy source to run the grids, and more robotics. You can be lazy if robots will do all the work, or, you know, most of the, like, say, growing of crops and stuff. In fact, you can actually grow like without chemicals and stuff if you train the robots to pick the weeds and, you know, all that stuff. Then it's doable. So you can actually fix, you know, this all could be fixed in 10 years with a couple of really good breakthroughs. So as bad as it looks, you know, just hold on to your hats, people. Can't watch any of my kids, even Star Trek. New Star Trek is like porn. Yeah, I don't know. I think we might have to let go on some of the sex stuff as far as the old school thoughts. I mean, France did it all this time and they've managed to survive. The violence, though, I definitely think we need to dial back on that. Already a cheaper clean fuel source in USA. I don't know of that which you speak. So, like, solar has some advantages, but then without the battery storage, you know, we can't store it and use it at night. So then it's very weak because we don't have any power after like about 4 p.m. when the sun starts setting and the angle's terrible and we don't get much solar anymore, and then all night. So we have a big power problem, like between 4 p.m. and 9. Everybody is doing all of their evening activities and there's no solar. Wind is very fickle. Now, if we had really good battery storage for not super expensive, then we could just do a lot of solar during the day, especially in the areas like I live where there's a lot of sun. But still in the winter, you're going to have trouble. So we need a couple breakthroughs. Indeed, though, way better battery storage would go a long way. So I'm waiting for my really good batteries. I want my cold fusion. Once we get those, you know, then we won't be limited by power use. We can do some jamming. I mean, even if you could only fly that thing 5 hours, I could fly it to like Los Angeles, then recharge it. And if power was cheap, I could just recharge it and then I could fly it another 5 hours. You know, that would be totally awesome. All right, well, I'm at 2 o'clock and I think I'm done with everything I have to say. I'm going to end it on a more positive note than ranting on the crooked politicians. We're going to talk about awesome cheap power, better batteries, and you know, solving our problems, because I think it's totally doable. And with technology going back in time, I think we're going to have this dichotomy where some people are going to go all artificial, brain implant, blah, blah, blah. The rest of us, I think we're just going to technology is a tool. You don't want to be the tool. You don't want to be a robot. You just want to use it. So there's a point where you got to pick your battles there. And I think that there is a route where we use tools as tools and we don't try to become them ourselves, and we let our natural evolution that we see that we're obviously capable of because we've seen the Mandela. I don't know, I'm ranting all over the place, but you get the idea. There is a path down the middle there where I think we can get not too far one way and not too far the other. And there's a good route down the middle. So we got to shoot for that route. So you know the drill. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.